Hello and welcome back to the Formula 1 chat. Today we're here for our Austrian Grand Prix review. Actually a really good weekend of racing. Shame of course it was marred by a horrible incident in Freca, and we would like to start today by just giving a little mention to that. Of course our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved in the Freca grid, and of course everyone at MP and the family of Delano. But we will now discuss, as we normally do, the racing. Should we start with qualifying? As we always do, wouldn't make any sense otherwise.
What a Grand Prix overall, really. I think it's probably the best one we've seen so far this season.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting. Obviously, as I said in the preview, we had the sprint shootout, which made it much more exciting. But really good 3 days of racing. Very, very fast.
Yeah, a bit too fast at times. Often going over the track limits, we saw a lot of that on the Sunday.
What a topic.
A fair bit in qualifying and all that, of course, but yeah, quite contentious, and it's caused a lot of problems. In fact, as we are recording this, Aston Martin have lodged an appeal against the race results, and they have been successful in that protest, but no cars as of yet have been
So the plan is,
changed
we'll
to
talk
classification.
about the order as it is right now. It probably is going to change by the time this comes out, but there's not really much we can.
So at the hearing there was a Ferrari representative, so it appears they're probably trying to penalise Carlos Sainz. I'm guessing they feel if he gets a 10-second penalty, Alonso gets a place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they just want him to get 5 seconds, so he's behind Norris, and then Aston gain more points for Ferrari. But yeah. Either way, we're going to run for every team, as we always do, in reverse championship order. We'll start then with Williams.
Do you know what?
Probably one of their worst weekends of the season. Well, they did alright actually, didn't they, at times? But
11th. It was so close yet so far to points.
Yeah, I guess.
Alex Albon on the Friday getting through to Q3 again. Massive shift from him. Sargent was quite close to Q2, I believe.
He's 18th, about, a sec. I don't know. Oh no, the timings are all weird, obviously, because they're based on the Q2, Q3 times as well. But he was 2 tenths off everyone else in Q1.
That's not
off of 16th in Q1.
That's
so
not that bad.
2 behind
tenths is pretty close. And then obviously into the sprint shootout, 11-18 again, Sargent 18th. Albon
Sargent was last, but Albon just outside the point, 3 places out
again,
of
very
the points
good
there.
But him though.
You could definitely push forwards.
Definitely.
But I do think they failed to take advantage of the conditions on Saturday, because the sprint race was chaos, as we would see. Albon dropped to 13th, and Sargent went up to 18th. So they didn't really take advantage of the cushion. You feel like Williams would have been the type of team to gamble, throw on those softs early, like George Russell did. And they definitely could have had, I don't know, maybe a points paying weekend.
Problem was at the time, I think Albon was actually in the points. So they didn't want to risk it.
Oh, yeah, you might be right there. So,
so far across Friday and Saturday, it was a very so close, but yet so far.
Very similar into the Sunday then, 11th and 13th.
I mean, first of all, really good from Logan Sargent. He had some really good race pace to go from the back of the grid up to 13th. Really strong race, probably his best race so far this season.
Just clocked. Williams aren't obviously the bottom team, but we'll start with them anyway. Of course, AlphaTauri are now, following Albon's points last weekend.
But joint though?
No, 7 for Williams, 2 for AlphaTauri.
Okay, on. Albon 11th again, so close to another point.
Yeah, I mean it was 10 seconds behind Stroll, but
I swear he only took him a couple laps to go.
Well, we may have, but then Albon may have took many escape roads.
And 11-13, not a too shallow weekend.
He didn't get lapped,
but
that's quite good.
But saying the week how close they were to scoring points in both sessions.
He probably did get lapped, but then Max obviously
pitted.
As we'll get on to later, that ballsy move. But yeah, Williams, a weekend where they definitely could have scored something,
but not horrific.
No, certainly not horrific. AlphaTauri then, as we should have started with,
horrific.
Pretty bad. Both drivers knocked out in Q1. Which is bad considering that they contest at this track every single week if they wanted to.
We saw that onto the Saturday. They had a much better Saturday. Both drivers getting through to Q2 in the sprint shootout.
And the sprint, well, they went backwards.
Very far backwards.
16-17. Yeah. So both dropped a couple of positions, but they didn't gamble on the softs early.
The 1 lap pace is there every now and again. And then
in the race, well, Tsunoda obviously had that early incident where he broke his front wing.
did a bit of gravel driving.
And then, off into the gravel. He finished 18th in the end of race, up in 15th, which...
All I saw of the race was he shoved Magnussen into the gravel.
He did do that and got a 5-second penalty. So
that is all I saw from the race this weekend.
that's be all he's done, is just driving to Magnussen. But, I
Those two
mean...
really don't get on.
Do you think he'll be replaced at the half season? We've got 3 rounds left for him to prove himself.
I don't know. Honestly, it's Helmut
If
Marko.
there's one man that's going to replace someone at the half season, it is Dr. Helmut Marko. It's
What,
sort of his
himself?
thing. He might. Did you see the picture of him in racing overalls?
No.
So I saw people joking. Helmut Marko's so pissed off he's just going to hop in the car himself.
I'd pay to see
I
that.
think he did. I think he must have gone out in
Yeah.
a car or something. But I saw a picture of him in race overalls to
Wow. I didn't
get
see
involved. But up next then, Alfa Romeo, a team that's massively underperformed this season.
Equally
Really,
as bad as AlphaTauri.
Yeah, not great. Valtteri Bottas 14th, Zhou 17th. Neither of them really having great qualifying sessions on the Friday. Into the sprint shootout, where again, even worse, both knocked out in Q1. Very much swapped around with AlphaTauri in terms of fortunes there. 16th and 19th. This converted in the sprint too. Not a lot, I don't think. Though, 19th, 20th in the sprint. Completely forgot they existed, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Remember, didn't Bottas spin, causing a... He did, didn't he? Bottas spun at turn 1. I have vivid images of Bottas stopped there. I might be massively wrong.
Yeah, he stopped in some race. Zhou spun in quali at the last corner, at the penultimate corner.
Yeah.
One of the Alfa Romeo stopped somewhere.
I thought it was Bottas turn 1, off in the grass, where Vershaw crashed on the Saturday sprint. That sort of area, he spun there.
He spun and lost the car, didn't he? Or he sat there for a bit.
Yeah, but obviously you can start the car.
Again.
It's not an F2, but so they had. I think they had a short period of. Did they have a VSC or just double wave yellows?
I can't remember. I can't remember. I remember it happening. I don't remember where it was or how it happened.
But and then in the race, 14th, 16th, nothing to write home about. Bottas really struggled, from what I remember.
Both Alpha teams had a horrible weekend.
Bottas doesn't like wheel-to-wheel racing. We've known that for a while. He really did not like this weekend.
Him, Magnussen, De Vries and Piastri had a great battle for 16th, 17th, 18th and 19th. That's probably the highlight of their weekend.
Yeah.
Scrapping away at 16th.
Yeah, not great for Alfa Romeo then.
No.
Up next, is it... I can't remember if it's Alpine or McLaren. It's Haas. Forgot about Haas existing. They had a really good weekend. So much promise, and they converted none of it.
Bam.
So qualifying, Magnussen really cocked up with track limits and stuff. He was out in Q1, but Nico Hülkenberg taking home P8 in qualifying.
Hülkenberg. What a weekend for him.
And then it only got better in the sprint. Both into Q3. K-Mag P10. Nico Hülkenberg
What a lap.
P4.
What a lap. It was P2 at one point. I was dreaming. Oh, no. That's not a sprint shootout. He qualified P4 in the sprint. How close was this man to a podium?
Well, P6 in the end. But still big points for Haas. They've pulled away from Alfa Romeo now.
He was in P2 for the majority of the sprint.
I know. I
thought Hülkenberg was going to do it. I don't know.
He pit for softs thinking everyone else was going to come through flying on the softs, but they didn't.
He did fine.
He'd have got a podium.
Hülkenberg, why did he do this?
I guess they thought it would dry really quick and then they'd just zoom past and win, but that didn't come to fruition. Nico Hülkenberg, still big points.
To see him drive around in second for about 10-15 laps was quality though.
Magnussen somehow slipped to 14th. I guess he didn't pit as quickly. Or got caught out when drivers like Russell.
But I think just because that Hülkenberg quali and sprint, sprint shootout and sprint, they deserve it.
In the race, they finished bottom 2, so that was really bad. But
Hülkenberg was doing alright until his car lost power, and then Magnussen was fanning on the back with the crap.
Yeah. So that was not great for either of them. But
so what looked so good this weekend was they got nothing. Well, they got big points in the sprint.
They did get big points. They could have taken more points. I think if they take the P2, they'd drop team of the weekend. But
Nico Hülkenberg.
Yeah.
So close.
The thing is, they would probably be a shoo-in for drive for Team L just because they failed so badly to deliver points if Hülkenberg didn't get those big 3 points. But still a bit of a choke from Haas this weekend. They looked quite good.
Especially in the wet.
They like this track. They were good here last year, of course. Up next then, we have, it is still McLaren. They have closed that gap to Alpine a little bit.
Opposing weekends. We'll start off with Piastri.
Does this all owe to what we spoke about on Friday, actually, the difference in the cars now? Because Lando has the upgrades, Oscar doesn't.
Some of it, yes, some of it, no. Friday and Saturday, yes, probably the upgrades. Sunday, definitely not the upgrades.
Well, no, because obviously a better grid position, thanks to upgrades, and being able to compete at the front. It's a lot different to fanning
the
around with
upgrades
De Vries.
is the difference between 4th and 19th.
4th and 13th, obviously, in qualifying.
Lando, brilliant lap.
There's a really good lap
He was
from
up
Lando.
there all weekend. We know he's quicker than Austria,
really good
especially
pace.
when it's wet.
When you're a tenth quicker than your teammate, that does. Sorry, a second quicker than your teammate, I meant to say, from his Q2 lap to your Q3 lap. I mean, it shows it's not. It can't just be the driver unless your teammates with Daniel Ricciardo in 2021. Then it probably is a bit of the driver, but
leave him alone.
Considering they are in slightly different cars, it makes sense Lando had that big advantage. Into the sprint shootout then, obviously Piastri really struggled, dropped to 17th, but Lando Norris took home a podium for McLaren, P3.
What a result.
No, in the sprint shootout, not a podium, but
Oh yeah, sprint shootout.
I forget what they're all called now, they're so confusing, but he then had a mare in the sprint shootout and ended up down in 9th out of the point.
Well, he got caught up behind this whole Verstappen-Perez fight, which we'll touch on later. Because he basically just got stuck at turn 3 and watched everyone drive past him.
Ends up just 11 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri, who fought back really well from his P17 in the sprint shootout.
Yeah.
But obviously he was able to
again, Lando had such promise. So did Hülkenberg.
Yeah. So
what a terrible sprint.
And then to the race, where Piastri obviously started P13, dropped to P17. That was not ideal. And then the race, Lando Norris fought so hard for a P5. Could potentially be a P4 if Carlos Sainz is penalised.
But a brilliant drive. He kept up with Hamilton. He battled away superbly, overtaken. He drove really well. Had supreme pace.
Yeah.
P5 behind the Ferraris and Red Bulls.
To be 4 seconds ahead of Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
That Aston's looked rapid this season.
So from a McLaren point of view, if you can get the upgrades on Oscar's car, arguably, Lando was the third best.
I don't think they quite jump Aston yet.
No.
I just think Lando's really good around Austria. But I think you could possibly be ahead of Alpine, in which case you should be fairly competitive for the points every week.
Challenging Mert as
and
well.
especially if we keep seeing these shit shows going on in quality at the moment, where Checo,
and
Perez...
Russell cannot qualify.
Checo and Perez. Checo, Russell, as I'm saying, those type of drivers keep having mares, you've got a good chance of scoring some good points. But up next, it is Alpine. They had a bad weekend, I would say, by their standards. Quali wasn't too bad on the Friday. Ocon P12, Gasly P9. Quite a decent quali, considering that McLaren were a little bit quicker. But when you think that Perez was 15th, Russell was 11th, everyone expected more.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't remember anything from their weekend apart from the fact that Crofty and Anthony Davidson kept thinking that
Ocon was Gasly. It was so annoying in the race.
It was painful for at least...
It was annoying when Piastri was making overtakes in the sprint. He was doing really, really well. They kept calling him Lando.
Well,
that was really
Anthony
irritating.
Davidson kept calling him Lando. I love you, I don't like him.
No.
He's a bit of a melt.
A little bit.
But a good solid 5 laps just kept calling Ocon Gasly.
You're doing it now.
It's so confusing. Maybe the Gasly should just drive both cars.
I think they should make the numbers bigger.
Yeah.
So Anthony Davidson can
write a name on the side. Ocon in massive letters.
Get rid of the sponsorships.
Yeah.
I mean, they might struggle when you're getting Verstappen on the side. But yeah.
Ragoon Thunder was just brilliant. Imagine that. Paul Durrell.
You need a lorry to get all that.
A lorry.
But yeah, and then in the sprint shootout, Ocon 9th, Gasly 12th. They inverted. They were same positions, just different drivers. But did they convert much? Well, in the sprint, Ocon got P7, not a horrendous result.
He took advantage of the weather conditions. The absolute complete shit show that was the sprint.
He definitely did. Gasly down in 15th, and then into the race. Well, it was Gasly's turn to score points. 2 points for him. So they both got 2 points. Both had inverted qualifying positions. Really, just
weird weekend.
Copied each other's weekends.
I didn't think they both. I didn't think
when one did well,
points.
when one did well, the other one did bad. When the other did bad, the other one did well.
Yeah,
I think I've said the right thing there. You know what I mean. But 4 points for Alpine, and it's not stunning, but it's not horrendous. They made the best of what wasn't a great weekend. They didn't have much pace, but they did try to bring home some points.
Yeah.
So not bad. On to is it Aston Martin? Is it Ferrari? Is it Mercedes? I can't remember. It is Ferrari. They had a great weekend.
They did. They had a really solid weekend.
Finally, actually had some pace. Qualifying.
Very strong. Just by Max Verstappen.
4,000 or 400
Where did that come from?
Of Max Verstappen. I mean, I wasn't expecting anyone to be close to Max Verstappen, let alone a Ferrari. So, really strong pace on this weekend. Clearly, they really enjoy this Austrian circuit and took full advantage of Mercedes being a little bit all over the place. In the sprint shootout was slightly less successful in that wet weather conditions.
I honestly don't know what happened on Saturday.
Sainz 5th, Leclerc 6th. Well, I saw Leclerc speak in an interview how actually he needs to learn how to deal with wet conditions. And I was thinking, mate, you're in your 5th, 6th season of Formula 1 and a little bit of precipitation and you shit the bed. But, I guess every driver has a flaw.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one. Saying it rains quite a lot in Formula 1.
It does rain sometimes, yes.
Wait till we get to go Spa in a few weeks. Absolutely pissing it down.
But yeah, Sainz 5th, Leclerc 6th in the sprint shootout. Then into the sprint, well, it was Sainz who managed to convert a podium and Leclerc slipped to 12th. So a very contrasting sprint to Saturdays, where Sainz qualified 5th, managed to get a podium from it. Leclerc started 6th, slipped down outside the points.
Yeah.
But yeah, still decent for Sainz. Then to the race, well, Charles Leclerc took home a really good P2, while Sainz had to fend off Perez, but didn't quite come onto that podium, ended up P4, and now Aston Martin want to attack him. So Ferrari, a really decent weekend, probably my team W of the weekend.
They led a lap.
Not to spoil it, but they
led a lap.
They did lap.
They
They
led
led quite
one
a few laps.
Yeah, right.
And
That was
then-
like 283 consecutive laps.
Something mental like that. But yeah,
Wow.
Pretty
What a
decent.
week, what a turnaround.
what a turnaround indeed. Up next it is Aston Martin, who for the first time this season really struggled.
They were pants.
Well, they weren't great in Canada either.
They
But
weren't bad, they were just
are they starting to slip?
No,
No?
just one bad weekend.
Well, they had a bad weekend in Canada as well.
2 bad weekends and
That's 2 bad weekends.
home Grand Prix up next, they'll smash it.
It's a home Grand Prix for a lot. They're all in England apart from Ferrari and Haas. But
yeah,
But yeah, Aston Martin, P6, P7, Stroll 6th, Alonso 7th. Pretty decent. In quality, but yeah, not quite the pace of those front runners like they have been. In the sprint shootout, 7th and 8th. So again, decent, but again, they were 3rd and 4th, weren't they? Just behind those balls. They weren't here this weekend. They had just a little bit off the
They were the
pace.
4th best team this weekend.
Probably, but I don't know, because I'd say they're the 3rd best, but Hülkenberg and Lando put in great
I'd have said Red Bull,
Qualifications.
Ferrari, McLaren Haas.
sprint, 4-5. So
Yeah,
not more they
much
could have
better.
asked of them. And Stroll actually put in a really good drive, getting ahead of his teammate and scoring some big points. And into the race, they ended up in a 6-10. So yeah,
Stroll kind of tailed off a bit.
he did not do as well in the race. Obviously, was ahead of his teammate in qualifying for that, and ended up behind him. Was behind him in the sprint and ended up ahead of him. So bit of a weird one, but yeah, he ended up down in 10th. Alonso in 6th, but Alonso didn't really have the pace to go after Norris, which, given where he has been this season, given how consistently he's been P2, that's not great from him.
No,
For Alonso this weekend, just didn't have the pace. Just didn't have the pace.
no. But he's never been very quick around off the chart. I think they'll bounce back in Silverstone.
Fair enough. Speaking of teams that need to bounce back in Silverstone, well, Mercedes.
What a horror show.
They've been good recently, but really struggled this weekend. Hamilton was complaining about the car for most of the race.
Toto going, we know the car's bad, drive it, please.
Yeah, get on with your job.
Yeah.
He's the only driver that consistently complains about his car in Formula 1.
And he only started moaning about track limits because he got a 5-second time penalty.
Yeah.
As for
sort of
George
using it as an
Russell,
excuse.
was he racing this weekend, or was he, or was he just not there?
In qualifying, Lewis Hamilton P5, Russell P11. However, their fortunes would be quite contrasting. Not Russell's, his was still shit, he was 15th. But Lewis down in P18 in qualifying. A bit of a mess, he couldn't get a clean lap in. And the sprint shootout, sorry.
Yeah.
The sprint shootout.
All Max in P, load of rubbish, absolute load of garbage.
Yeah. That was a bit of a messy situation, but he impeded Max. Max then impeded him. He could have continued his lap. I don't know why he stopped, but yeah. And then he couldn't get a clean lap in any other part of the session because he kept running off. And also you get a shorter session, so not as long to get your laps in. Into the sprint, well, he managed to get all the way up to P10. Obviously not points, but Russell managed to recover 3 positions up to P11, up a couple positions, I think 15th, so 7 positions up to P8 and picked up a point. So not bad from George Russell in the sprint. He gambled early on the start.
Yeah.
It paid off big time. Then into the race, well, they both sort of languished inside the point, 7th and 8th. Hamilton
Should have had more, really.
couldn't really... I mean, he was holding off Norris for a bit, but then eventually they penalised him for kept running off. Lando had more pace, which isn't a great sign.
Yeah.
So because that's the same engine, so that is just the car that's making the difference, and the driver, of course. But Lando is very talented. So, yeah, Lewis... He didn't have a good weekend, did he? P7 and then Russell P8, a far cry from where they were in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, not a great weekend for them. Should we talk about Red Bull?
They're pretty good. Well,
Wow.
Max is... wow.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen took pole, of course, in the qualifying. Sergio Perez in 15th for a fourth consecutive race. He qualified outside the top 10.
Question marks. He made up for it, but question marks.
There are definitely some question marks. His lap was not... He couldn't get a lap in, could he? Normally his laps haven't been good enough. He could not get a lap in because he couldn't stay within the white lines. So, really bad for Checo, really good for Max. He was top, just stayed ahead of Leclerc. Was close at the end, but he struggled to get a clean lap in as well.
For Max, it was quali, top, sprint shootout.
Well, of course, he took pole for the sprint. Perez was a lot closer this time, as in he was second, but he was still 5/10 off Max. It's really the effects of the rain there, isn't it? Max Verstappen still able to put in a lap that was just shy of his pole lap, despite the fact it was wet, and Checo was 5/10 off him, but yeah.
Sprint
I may not have been wet actually for sprint shootout, but sprint was definitely wet.
This
bit mess,
interesting,
wet to dry. Yeah, a lot to talk about here.
Bargy.
Yeah,
bit of handbags.
Perez got Verstappen into turn 1. Did not expect that. Did not have that on my bingo card for this weekend. Then he proceeded to squeeze Max to the grass, which he did not take very kindly. So he dive bombed up into turn 3.
Poor Lando Norris.
A clean move for Max, I would say.
It was one of those where it's like, well, you pushed me off, so I'm gonna.
It felt a bit. It was very aggressive on your teammate, but equally, I don't know what on earth Checo was doing, because I would say it is worse than Spain 2016 because it's wet. What are you doing, shoving your teammate into the grass?
Yeah,
that's just weird from Checo for a man who wants to drive next season. Yeah, it's a weird tactic to just. Be a melt every time.
They were both alright from that. They still finished 1-2. Still big loser. I think it was Lando Norris.
And Hülkenberg.
Still Lando Norris.
Definitely more Lando Norris.
Robbed. Anyway, no, I'm joking. Obviously, Verstappen and Perez. Bit of
Perez did have that lock up.
It was interesting.
And
he did
Hülkenberg
got through, and then he threw it away.
He did, but yeah, Perez Red Bull 1-2 into the race. Well, Checo had a big recovery drive, but he did have some good pace. They did well with the strategy as well to leave him out on those mediums while everyone else came in on that first safety car, and only safety car.
Verstappen taking the biscuit a bit, Red Bull, weren't they?
How
taking the mick a bit.
So he was 23 seconds ahead, decided to pit. Perfect stop from the Red Bull. From the Red Bull team, but it's cocky when you're pitting 2 laps in the end. When you haven't got enough of a margin.
There's a 4 seconds margin there for error.
Yeah.
If that stop,
he came out 2 seconds ahead of Leclerc.
If that stop was any slower, Leclerc would have got him.
Well, because he could have got with him DRS. Probably wouldn't have had to fight on those hards. But yeah, Max then put in a fast lap, 3 seconds quicker than the lap Leclerc put on the final lap, and he picked up that fastest lap point. So clean sweep, fast lap in every session, top of every session. Didn't get the Grand Slam because he didn't lead every lap, but a ridiculous result for Max, and he has extended his championship lead massively, but still a good weekend for Perez to get P3, so 1-3 for Red Bull. Looking at the championship then before we sign off, Max Verstappen obviously top of the timings, 229 points now, well ahead of Checo Perez on 148. Constructors, Red Bull 377, just ahead of Mercedes, well, 199 points ahead of Mercedes.
Pretty good.
Yeah, good weekend for racing. Apologies, by the way, if you've had any background noise, because we've been put off by some screaming from our neighbours, which is good fun. But yeah, I think that's everything for today. A good weekend of racing. Hopefully, we have a good weekend in Britain. That is
next week. Back-to-back race ends.
Join us on Friday for our preview. We probably won't talk about the F2 or F3 this weekend. We may do a roundup in the week between.
Maybe. It's been good. There's a lot to catch up on because they supported Austria and they are supporting in Britain as well.
So maybe we'll do a video talking about those 2 rounds after Britain, of course. But yeah, that is everything for today. If you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new around here, please do hit subscribe. It massively helps us out. We're starting to grow. Getting to keep a few more subs recently. That's been really good. And yeah, if you want to keep the conversation going, please do get involved in the comments below. It's really nice when we get some comments. Nice to know that people are enjoying the content we make. So yeah, please do feel free to leave some comments, leave some feedback, leave your thoughts on the Grand Prix. That's everything for today, though. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.